Secret Podcast, as promised by God. Remember, I say God willing. Every Tuesday around 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we're gonna be up here live with our True Secret Podcast. Y'all can always catch the pre-recorded True Secret Podcast. Uh, that link is in the video description below. That takes you to our rss.com hosting page, and you can listen to the podcast right there from that platform, or you can listen to it on Spotify, iHeart, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Listen Notes, Stitcher, Deezer, Tuned In, and more. Okay, y'all will find the True Secret Podcast page on the website, and you'll see all the podcast platforms where CHA's True Secret Podcast is located. And we have at least one new pre-recorded episode that goes up every week, and more often than not, twice a week. Every Wednesday and Saturday. Again, God willing. So, you can always check those out. In the meantime, let me do some simple engineering work real quick. Yes. Here we go. All right. Because we want to talk about it. I mean, we talk all about how the narcissists are the narcissistic abusers, how they're evil, right? Well, we know narcissism is pure evil. And evil is what? Dark. Very dark. How the narcissist. Alright, so we've got a little bit of a breeze. This shade wall here, and you might hear it rustling in the wind a little bit. But we want to talk about this, and I know that I'm trying to see what y'all see here. Okay, so got the chat up over here as usual. So don't hesitate to reach out with any questions that you may have, or share some additional insight, because one thing we all can agree on is that narcissism is evil. Those of us who know that narcissism is a spiritual disorder, okay, and it can lead to a lot of actual mental health issues for the targets of narcissistic abuse, which essentially is a big part of why I put that video out, that the devil targets our health. When you think about our health, you got to think mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, and then of course your physical health. See, like the narcissist and the devil, they think the battle well, the devil knows that we're not in a physical battle. That's the key. But narcissists don't. Because of narcissism. They walk and live by sight. So they think that the battle we're in is physical. Yeah. It's not. God tells us clearly, okay, in the Bible, Ephesians chapter 6, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. No, that spiritual wickedness in high places, that's dark. That's dark. And narcissism is very dark. And I remember seeing doom and gloom faces at an event with the ex-psycho roommate. It was his sister and brother-in-law wedding anniversary. Now, y'all would think that, wedding anniversary, yeah, I mean, everybody would be happy and celebrating and cheering and applauding, and you would feel positive vibes, right? You would sense the happiness, or at least you would think. I mean, they're celebrating a wedding anniversary. It's supposed to be a happy time. And I remember being there, and I was like, okay, hold on a second. This is supposed to be a celebration. And the ex-psycho roommate family, they're all sitting in chairs side by side. It was like 4 or 5 of them sitting there, sisters, okay? And then him standing close by. The first thing I noticed was their facial expression. In my mind, I'm going, this is a wedding anniversary. Aren't you supposed to be happy? But they had nothing but long, drawn, doom and gloom faces. No smiles, no light, no life at all. And I thought that was very peculiar. But I didn't know yet. Okay, that was during the season. I didn't know I was dealing with a psycho. Okay, I did not know I was dealing with a psychopath at that time. I was still an undergrad. For those who don't know, I do. I got a bachelor's in criminal justice and a master's in forensic toxicology. And through all of that, I discovered the ex-psycho roommate was a narcissist, psychopath. But before I knew that, I just remember being there at that event, and I was like, man, I mean, where are the smiles? Where's the happy? Where's the laughter? You know, a wedding anniversary, but everybody was, and it was very low vibrational. I didn't know that at the time either. I didn't know what it was. I thank y'all for giving the video a thumbs up so our fellow warriors can get this. Okay, these are truths, y'all. These are truths. These are things that we don't forget. Remember when Jesus said, when the Comforter comes, right? When the Comforter comes, that it's going to bring things to our remembrance. And that happens to be one thing that stood out like a sore thumb to me. But I didn't know yet, okay, about the true evil that we're facing every day. And it was very odd. And then I remember after moving to Myrtle Beach, okay, as a live-in maid, the ex-psycho roommate, just being a housekeeper, I mean, it was a sweet deal, right? I'm enrolled in this master's program, so now I can focus on my study, and I'm gonna be the maid, the housekeeper, right? So I don't have to pay rent. I can just take care of the house and study. And I was like, man, that's a sweet deal, right? Yeah, but not without strings attached. Y'all know narcissists, they don't do things like that without strings attached. That's dark. Because it's manipulation. But anyway, it was during that season that I started to discover that he was a psychopath. His true colors started to show. And, wow, you know. And I did more digging about narcissism and found my way onto Quora before. Yeah, man, wow. That after, yes. Okay, I found my way onto Quora in 2019, a year after finally getting away from the ex-psycho roommate. But I was starting to notice some very weird, at the time, behaviors with him. And I said, okay, wait a minute, this man is almost 70 years old. And he was acting like a 3-year-old. I said, what is going on with this? And I remember somebody told me about something called age reversal, like something about when it's a very misleading psychological idea. And it says that what happened is it's like, you know, you're born an infant into this world, right? Don't forget we're groomed since birth to tolerate the abuse later in life. Don't forget that. But I started to notice in him all those toddler behaviors, and I was trying to piece it together, like, what is going on here? This man is almost 70 years old and he's acting like a 3-year-old. What's up with that? I said, this is not normal. This is not normal. And during my master's program, I had to take Forensic Medicine 1 and Forensic Medicine 2. And then along with that, there were some, I had to study drug toxicity, right? I had to study metal toxicity. That's why we have the movement, Combating Radio Frequency for Healthier Living, y'all. That's where the master's comes in there too. And also so I can help explain to you all what happened during the trauma bonding process to one of these narcissists. Because whether you are married to them or you are just, you know, hanging out, you think you're just friends with them, there's a trauma bond of some kind, okay? Because they are very addictive. They're very charming, right? That's part of their lure. It's actually dark when you can see beneath the veil, when you actually can see through the shenanigans, that you start to realize that's actually very dark. Okay, and we learned that childlike appearance that they have is a trap. And so we can see beyond that now. That's that spiritual discernment that God needs us to have. But before all of that, you know, I was studying to get my master's, and so I had to learn about the narcissism there. And I forget what course it was that I had to take some basics. You know, every curriculum in higher education has prerequisites and then also required courses Like, you have to take certain basic courses before you can take the next course. That's how it works in some programs. And well, all the ones, I mean, yeah, even my bachelor's in criminal justice was like that. There were some required coursework before I could actually take like a more advanced type of the same topic, which makes sense. You know, you have to get the introduction and then, okay. Alright, so that's the order of things for higher education. And so I forget which courses it was during my toxicology program, but I had to touch on some of the DSM-5 terminology. And yes, I had to get the DSM-5. When I enrolled in my doctorate program, I had to actually get the book. But I started doing research during my master's program. Like I said, I don't recall exactly. There was a few assignments where I had to study certain aspects of the narcissistic personality disorder. But yeah, it makes sense at first. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. We ain't got no reason to lie here. But I will tell you that it resonates during that season when you're trying to figure out. So that's what I thought. I said, man, I said, is he bipolar? I was doing some research on that. I said, is he bipolar? Wait a minute. But now he's showing signs of schizophrenia. Wait, what's up with that? I mean, he was just, whew, yeah. So, I mean, I had to turn him into a case study so that I could see what was going on. I said, because he was starting to exhibit behaviors. And so I'm going and looking it up. And everything in the DSM-5 was popping up at me. And I was like, okay, I'll take this for now. Because I didn't know about the spiritual side yet. I didn't know any of that. And so I was like, okay, I see. And I said, okay, so maybe it's a crossover here. Maybe he's just got several things going on here. Because that's what happens to us. That's one of the most common things we do when God awakens us to it and we start to see their true colors, because they can't hold up the facade but for so long, right? Okay, and so that being said, for about a year and 7 months, okay, that's a long time for a case study, but almost 2 years. And so I got a lot of data. And I mean, it was very bizarre at first. And then I started to dive into the spiritual when I got away from there, and I started working at a toxic workplace, and ended up being a delivery driver, delivering pizzas. But a lot of the crew there was exhibiting some of the same behaviors, and I was like, hold up a second, do they know each other? That's my first thought. I remember thinking that. I said, man, does the ex-psycho roommate know these people? Is he calling them and telling them to act this way, trying to psych me out or something? No. It's just, I was learning that narcissism was a lot more prevalent than I thought. And that's when a fellow schoolmate, if you will, through my master's program, led me to Quora. And she reached out to me because she herself had fallen prey, P-R-E-Y, to a narcissist at work who could have destroyed her marriage. So we basically, she would ask, because I was becoming the expert I am today, okay, on narcissistic abuse. And I was getting very well versed because of being the delivery driver. And I'm seeing this stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm not ignoring it. And that's when I got back to the Bible. That's when I answered God's call, as far as I got to get back to the Word of God. And so we did. And that's when I started to learn about the narcissist being the evil doers. And so now we're on the spiritual side. And I said, okay, so when we got to the spiritual side, I started realizing that narcissism was a spiritual disorder, and that it's very dark, doom and gloom. I remember the ex-psycho roommate's family, doom and gloom faces, and then I started to see those same doom and gloom faces on narcissists in the workplace. And I said, okay, there's more to it than that. I was like, that DSM-5, it finally made its way to the dumpster. I kid you not. Because when you become aware of the spiritual side and the spiritual truth, God's spiritual truth about the evil we face, and that it might be nice and sunshiny out here, but evil never sleeps. Okay? And so it's like, okay. And once you start to see that, you start to understand that that's what we're facing. It's a spiritual battle for the mind. And I just, oh man, so many things started to click into place a lot more and a lot better. So I moved away from that season where mental disorders or personality disorders, scratch it. I'm not, no. Now, drug use disorders, of course, and you know what? I'm not surprised that we have those because of narcissism and the narcissistic abuse and traumatization, okay? So I'm not surprised because a lot of victims turn to substance abuse as a coping mechanism, right, for trauma. And so, good afternoon. Okay, yes, good afternoon, Robert. Glad to see y'all here. Okay, thank you. All right, and that's just one tip of the iceberg, if you will. And so, we become truth seekers. You know, we become truth seekers because we realize that through all of that narcissism that we were born into, okay, and that it's generational, and that when God awakens us, chosen one, we are the generational curse breakers, and it comes with a lot of responsibility. And then I did the second toxic workplace. It just really sealed the deal for me. I was like, oh man, this is so spiritual. It's not funny. It is not funny. And then, you know, I got away from the P matrix, and I got away from all of that, and I just started to see how robotic everybody in that, I was a receptionist, and how robotic everybody was. Like, I was like, man, they're just all the same. And that was during the season where I was like, is everybody a narcissist? Because boy, I tell you, I'm leaving one toxic workplace, and on the second day of the new job, the second day, I spot the flying monkey. He's walking across. Let me tell you something. He's walking across the ground there. I'm going up the hill to use the restroom because of the agricultural setup or what have you, laws, regulation, what have you. That landscaping business, they had the restroom was up the hill. Okay, it wasn't in the office. I don't know. It is what it is. Permission, permits. It is what it is. But anyway, I'm headed up that way to use the restroom, and here he comes. A flying monkey, because he was just looking at the ground while he was walking, and I could hear him, and he was mumbling incoherently. I was like, what was that? Oh man, I said, that's a flying monkey. That's a narcissist. And mumbling incoherently is a sign of a narcissistic collapse. I said, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. But yeah, so when you start to see these things a lot quicker, you don't ignore them. And even on my way to Texas from Florida, I stopped off at hotels, right, just to sleep for the night. And there was this dude, okay, there was one that I stayed for like a few nights in one place, just give myself some rest on the way, and because I didn't have to hurry, we were in no hurry, but I remember the dude pulled up as I was going back in to the hotel to go back to my room. He pulls up, he's got his window down, and again, he was talking to me, but it was incoherent mumbling, and all I could do was like, okay, and walk away, because yeah, that was a demon talking. That's how they talk. We're generational curse breakers, not curse repeaters. Thank you, Robert. That is very true. We are not curse repeaters. And then eagle thinkers. Yep. We don't hang around chicken thinkers. I like that. I really do. And when you're an eagle, you don't go to the chicken coop to hang out with the chicken. Exactly. Get that eagle mind. But it takes a while to get there. It takes a while to get that eagle mind. And just be that truth, seeking that truth, you know. It takes a while. And we finally get there, though, but we keep going. And there's still so much more to learn. And that's why I invite y'all to join us on this journey in the spiritual awakening, because it is beautiful. And as I teach often, that yes, you are going to have to learn to be okay physically alone more often. That's how it goes. And we are not to be silent. We are supposed to share our testimonies. Absolutely. You know, and I'm paraphrasing, but even God said, yeah. Because when you share your testimony, you are not only providing inspiration and motivation for others, but you're also shining light. You're also walking as the children of light that we're supposed to be walking as told in Ephesians chapter 5. So to do that, you share your testimony of trials and tribulations and triumphs. See, that you can't get. I mean, that's it. That's it. Just share it. But not for manipulative reasons. See, narcissists will share a lot of times. We don't even know if they're telling you the truth. But we know that everybody is subject to traumatization daily, especially on the societal level. A lot of people don't see it. A lot of people can't see it. Right, and that's it. Once we learn that narcissism is dark, and it's the dark side of spirituality that we don't, yeah, it's demonic, right? The demonic realm is very dark indeed. And in 2 Corinthians 10 verse 3, God says, for though we walk in the flesh, we don't war after the flesh. That's another way of putting it. The battle we face is not physical. Exactly. Thank you for pointing that out, because I know in Ephesians chapter 6, we're told we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. So that ducktails off of that as well, okay? Another place where God tells us this is not a physical battle that we're in. It's a spiritual battle for the mind. And then also in 2 Corinthians 10 verse 4 is where he says, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds. Remember, those strongholds are trauma bonds. Okay? Don't forget that. And that's part of breaking the generational curse, because the trauma bond is the generational curse. Because you got to get trauma bonded to the world, then you're trauma bonded to a narcissist. Especially if you have parents that are narcissists. So, and there's a lot of us who didn't realize it, but our mother was a Jezebel. So a lot of people don't, a lot of people don't realize, oh man, that's a lot more common than you think. And then of course, narcissistic dad can also be Jezebel. Okay, so don't forget the Jezebel spirit does not have a gender, but it's still all very dark. And the more you stay away from it, and the more you stay immersed in God's word, the more you will see how dark it really truly is, because you'll sense that low vibration. It's very negative. It's very dark. And that's why we learned that when we come walking at the children of light, right, vibing on a whole nother level, a whole nother frequency, and you come in there and you see them getting a little bit antsy, right? Because they say it's all light that irritates their demon spirits. Okay, well, there you go. There you go. And so, okay, said that. That's it. Thank you. Dr. Maya Angelou was very correct. I've seen this quite a bit. It says that when people show you who they are, you better believe them the first time. That's it. And don't try and paint a pretty picture with it. And then Bob Marley once said, the biggest coward is a man who awakens a woman's love but no intention of loving her. Oh, that is so true. Very wise words right there, y'all. Very wise words. And that would be a narcissist that does that. Yeah, that would definitely be a narcissist that would do that. And it's through that trauma bonding process, like the love bombs and all of that. And so, yeah, thank you for sharing those very wise comments and pieces of wisdom like that. Because we learn in Proverbs chapter 8 a bit more about, and I think that's one of our favorites as well. I mean, you can't have just one favorite Bible verse or chapter, but Proverbs 8 is very, very deep in talking about how wisdom and understanding, it triumphs all, and that you cannot put a price tag on wisdom. And that kind of wisdom comes from experience too, and just knowing that, okay, it is what it is, and that they're not going to, right, they're not, well, once they get past I'm going to say, listen, if the narcissist is still a narcissist by age 40, they're done. That's it. They're going to be a narcissist for the rest of their life. Unless they get an epiphany of sorts. Because it's possible, but on average, I'm just giving you an on average, by age 40, if they have made no, if they have not even attempted to change, if they have not started to repent in any way, if they have not, if they still won't admit that they've done something wrong, if they still won't hold themselves accountable, if they will not, yeah, then that's it. And now, if they're a Jezebel, that's that. Remember, that's one of the most difficult, okay, spirits to deliver someone from. I mean, because they have to know that they're a Jezebel, and they gotta want to be delivered. It's just that simple. We don't go chasing after them. No. And then in 2 Peter 2 verse 15 says that false teachers have abandoned the right way, like the biblical figure Balaam, son of Beor, who is described as loving the wages of unrighteousness. Yeah, that describes narcissism as very dark. When you think about it, it's like the wage, right, who described as loving the wages of unrighteousness. Think about that. That's another form of the root of all evil, right? The love of money. Yes. And then Proverbs 29:24. Whosoever partners with a thief hates his own soul. He hears a curse and doth not reveal it. That's true. It's true. Now, if you feel like you have to prove to somebody that you're with, yeah, then leave them alone. They're not for you. Exactly. If you feel that you have to prove yourself, yeah, don't cave. Don't give in to that. That is definitely, that's what narcissists want you to do, because that can cause you to chase your tail. Remember, they love watching you chase your tail. Oh, yeah. And so, words of wisdom once again. Thank you for sharing those, because it's very important to have that solid understanding that if they're showing you their true colors, yeah, don't ignore those red flags. It's that simple. And I don't remember who the author of this one is. If y'all know, please put it in the comments, even on the replay. If y'all know who is the author of this, I don't recall right away, but I've seen it many times, and it's so true that insecurity is loud, healthy self-confidence is quiet. It is very true, because God tells us also that only a fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man keepeth it in until afterwards. And then, if we must say anything, you respond with wisdom. And I will tell you that the Word of God is the sword of the Spirit. It works every single time. Because if I get a narcissist that sends me an email or wants to throw out darts or wants to try and get me to second guess whether I'm healed enough, okay, to be doing what God has called me to do, oh, y'all know it, okay, I've had it happen. And so I sent an email back, and right, with the Word of God, and they were rendered speechless. So it works, okay? So, and exactly. Well, that's why I tell y'all that we stop seeking external validation. That's part of narcissism. It's very dark, because you'd rather seek God's approval than the world validation. That's why I tell y'all, God is the only validation that we need. He's on the inside, right? So we take the steps necessary to increase the internal validation, okay? We don't go seeking it on the outside. That's what the world wants you to do. That's what the devil wants you to do. That's what narcissists want you to do. And we stop doing that. That's how you, and I'm going to tell you, once you do that, you break that dependency on external validation. I'm going to tell you something. Woo! Yeah. You'll see Isaiah 60 verse 22 quickly. Yes. And so a man that abuses a woman had unresolved mommy issues. Well, that goes for the female that abuse male too. Let's not forget that, y'all. There are female narcissists who abuse men as well. So I just put an answer on Quora. For those who don't know, we're still on Quora, and I just put this up here recently at the time of this recording. I just put it up where they were asking if the narcissistic abuse was worse, okay, if the narcissistic abuse was worse, or something like that, okay, if it was worse for women than it was men. And so I got on there and I said, look, I said, it's erroneous to even say that the abuse will be worse for a man than a woman. The abuse is the abuse, and men are abused just like the women. A lot of men don't know, okay? They don't know that it's on the societal level as well. Because I have to tell y'all that there's a lot of even women who don't know that they're being narcissistically abused on the societal level, on the world stage. They don't know that, okay? And so they're deceived doing the deceiving, as God tells us about. And yeah, they don't know. They don't know. And so, and then the female narcissists have unresolved daddy issue. That's it goes both ways. Exactly. Unresolved mommy issues and unresolved daddy issue. Yes. Okay. I don't know why. Okay. And Galatians 5 verse 1, and that once Christ hath made you free from the yoke of bondage, don't be entangled in it. That's right. And that's why I teach y'all often that when God awakens us and we start learning about all the different bondages associated with narcissism, we break those bondages. And then of course we choose, okay, we can choose what bondage, okay, depending on what its usefulness might be. For example, for businesses, ministry, that would be taxes. In order to be considered legit in this fallen world, and God knows that, we got to pay taxes. I mean, we don't have to, but if you want your ministry on the map, you know, that's just the way it is. That's part of the game. We're not playing, but we do our own taxes. I do my own. Okay, so yeah, it's not hard. It's not hard. They have software program, and they have online thing to help you. It walks you through it step by step. As long as you got the numbers and you know how to follow instruction, there you go. Because they for business taxes, they are charging out the yin yang like $500+ to do business taxes. I was like, wait a minute, I can do this myself. Never mind. That's a bondage I got out of. So, and then we talk about how domestic violence happened in all walks of life. Well, yeah, and it is. Because domestic violence is narcissistic abuse. We just didn't know that at the time we learned about domestic violence. We thought that abuse had to be violent. I know I did. I thought that, you know, there for a while, and because we're conditioned by the Matrix to believe that only the bad guys exist that are criminals, right? The ones that get locked up are the only bad guys on this planet, right? We're taught to view humans as all good, right? Those rose-tinted lenses. Oh, yeah. But then we learn later on, you know, when God wakes us up, well, like, that is not true. We just didn't know what all of it was yet. And but yes, thank you for sharing, because that is very true, that the narcissistic abuse is in all walks of life, and narcissism does not discriminate. You have to understand that too, that you can have the wealthiest dude over here, and then you can have the poorest over here, and both of them are a narcissist. Okay, and then all walks in between. I mean, they say narcissism is on a spectrum. Yeah, well, so is radio frequencies. Not a coincidence. So, yeah, you have to keep that in mind as well. And so in the Song of Solomon, you know what's funny? The Song of Solomon, I said, he sure was a poet, wasn't he? Okay, Song of Solomon says, I charge thee, O daughter of Jerusalem, do not awaken or stir love before its time. Okay, that's very philosophical too. And, but yes, the Song of Solomon, that book right there, I said that's a poetry book, really, but it's also full of philosophy, and that's true. It's like, yeah, it's kind of another way of saying, let it be, and it will happen at God's appointed time. Galatians 4, verse 2, right? Yeah. Okay, so once you learn to let things be and don't stir up stuff, you know, don't be trying to, don't be trying to force things that should happen naturally. We're real big on teaching that in this ministry, too. One thing that we learn, especially during the detox process, and muscle rebuilding and toning and all of that. So for those who are on the strength training journey with us, welcome. It sure is. It takes a lot of patience and dedication. And I'm going to tell y'all, if somebody needs this right here, no matter what it is you're into, okay, on your walk with Christ, I want you to stay focused on that and take a moment to celebrate yourself, okay, to applaud yourself, celebrate even the smallest progress. Because I'm going to tell y'all something. It's just like the smallest detail can tell the biggest story. The smallest progress can give you the biggest smile. Oh, gosh, yeah. I have to tell y'all, those little baby steps sometimes, it's like, man, I'll take it. I'll take it. If that's all the progress I make today, I will take it. That's it. Because a little goes a long way. That's abundance. That's abundance. Okay, when you realize a little goes a long way. And that, there is nothing more joyful than seeing that progress. And if you're not paying attention, okay, for me, I will tell you, it is reconnecting with the locus of control of certain muscles in certain areas of my body. And once I tap back into it, I'm like, yo, all right. And then we realize that we just got to get rid of the air pockets so that salt water stops getting stuck there where there's air pockets. And it takes time. Okay, it takes time, because the more muscle you build, the more your nerve will repair, and you will get rid of air pockets. For those who don't know, on the website now, okay, we had to move our radio frequency tips and hacks, digital products to the website. So right at the time of this recording, we've got number 3 up for y'all. Seriously, simple concept, okay? And you're gonna see me promoting this, okay? You're gonna see the promotion of this, so I'm giving you a heads up. For those who don't like ads or promotions or what have you, well, it's unfortunate, but you need to get rid of that demon of complaining, because we've got to promote our stuff. Y'all ain't gonna know what we got if we don't tell you, right? And then, of course, a lot of us, like my Truth Seeker podcast on the rss.com, you're gonna find ads. I don't know what ads they put on there, but they're the ones that put the ads on there. Okay, so that's a revenue stream there. So we have to get used to it. And that's one of the first things I learned when I jumped on the entrepreneurial train, if you will, and started learning that I had to create multiple streams of income, and that's just one of them. And it took a little while for it to get monetized, but it finally did. And so for any of you who quit listening to the pre-recorded Truth Seeker podcast because of the ad that they put on there, then that's on you. It is what it is. I'm not gonna change nothing. I did go in and put some filters as far as the type of ad, like if they were advertising, because we are faith-based. So I'm hoping that it works, because anything that has like sexual content or sexual innuendos or what have you, we don't want none of that. Okay, that kind of stuff. So but as far as like education and technology and stuff, it's all, it is what it is. But you will see this promo for our latest how-to guide for combating radio frequency, which is RF. For those who don't know, RF stands for radio frequency, because they were around it, were exposed to it on a daily basis. But the radio frequency poisoning is used to manipulate our autonomic nervous system, the ANS, our inner child. Okay? And in order to combat that, okay, and to basically stop the body from being cooked from the inside out, you got to get rid of air pockets. And then once you get rid of those air pockets, and that's naturally going to happen through the detox and muscle rebuilding, okay, it's naturally going to happen. Okay, so you just gotta let it out. Okay, it's not supposed to be there. If it's won't out, it's not supposed to be in your body. And those air pockets is what is kind of like the root cause for discomfort. So you minimize air pockets, you minimize pain. So tried and true. And God revealed that to me early on. I said, oh, that makes sense, because of how it's structured, and how air pockets get trapped inside muscles and then onto bones, and then they attract more air pockets, right? Salt is a magnet for salt. And then you got mucus that got salt in it. It's heated and it gets cooked. Your body's internal temperature just continues to rise unnaturally and beyond where it should ever be. And you're walking around in like a fever-induced state all the time, a state of delirium. You can't think straight, you can't focus, you can't, and then you don't realize you're burning muscle. And as you lose that muscle mass, water retention creeps in, but you don't know that because you have a numbed autonomic nervous system. Oh, okay. So that number 3, okay, we have RF tips and hacks. Number 3, how to minimize air pockets, right on the website. The website is in the video description below. When you go to the website, in the navigation drop-down menu, okay, you will see CHA's RF tips. When you click on that, you'll find the number. You'll find the number 3, and it's, listen, y'all, it's an easy peasy PDF download for a one-time low price. And I highly encourage y'all, if you don't have a thumb drive or external hard drive, get one. Okay, they're a dime a dozen these days. Get one, because we are in a digital era. We have lots of digital products on the website, like the Real Talk with God's Wisdom videos. Oh, yes, we've got those too. And you find those in the navigation drop-down menu. Those are videos for you. Yes, Real Talk with God's Wisdom, to let you know you're not crazy. And more about the radio frequency as well. So you can check those out. There's 20 of them available for you to download. And then our RF tips and hacks, okay, starting with number 3 on the website at the time of this recording, and more is on the way. We've got a 1 and a 2, and we're going to have that for y'all as well. But I wanted to go ahead and get on here and give that to y'all, because we are moving the RF tips and hack digital product line onto the website, cdhrwdrmd.org. All right, and the PDF download for number 3, it's a few pages, great value. And again, you're going to see a short promo video circling around for that, okay? And it is, you download it for just $7. That's it. Okay, that's it. All right, and hang on to that, because as you're going to learn in the promo that some people will probably balk at the idea of avoiding carbonated beverages, but I'm like, nah, you got a challenge. Avoid it for 30 days, then come back and tell me how you feel. Okay, because I was like, I know some people are going to think, what? I can't have soda? I'm going to tell you, that soda is nothing but corn syrup anyway. You shouldn't be, never mind. It's all about combating radio frequency for healthier living, right? Okay, so healthier living is, you want to try to avoid corn syrup, at least on purpose. So if you know corn syrup is in the soda, we really shouldn't be consuming that anyway for healthier living. That's something to think about. But carbonation is one of the most common causes of air pockets. So just hang tight. Go on over there and read. Okay, go on over there and get your copy. It's got a lot of value, okay, for $7. And you can keep that on your thumb drive or external hard drive if you're worried about storage on your device. Okay. All right, and so it says, so let's see. back in the Bible days, when somebody blew the trumpet, it was either time to go to war or change direction. Hey, well, okay, so sometimes we just have to change direction, right? Yeah, and that's what we did. We were the RF tips and hacks 1, 2, and 3 are going to stay on the Patreon shop, but we are moving those 3 also over to the website. Anything new for that digital product line, the RF tips and hacks, going on the website. We're changing direction. Thank you, Robert. That was great right there. So I could give you the connection there. And so when you truly love yourself, you don't stay in an abusive relationship with a narcissist. That's true. That's true. And because they want you to not love yourself. Right? There you go. And sadness turns to anger. Anger turns to rage. It starts out that way. And when you say hurt people. Okay, well, the narcissists are hurt who hurt people. We don't do that. So that's only for those, the evildoers that do that. They're the ones, they're hurt. They will go around hurting others but out of spite. And that is very evil. Shows ones we don't do that. We forgive silently. We don't hold grudges. And we keep it moving. Okay, y'all? So that wraps up this Truth Seeker podcast today. Again, check out the links in the video description below for additional information. You can always learn more right on the website, y'all. Seriously, you can always learn more. And again, don't forget to get you a copy of the RF Tips and Hacks #3 PDF download for just $7 right on the website. And yes, on the website, you will see at the checkout page, there's a little link. Other payments, okay? We take several different forms of payment, okay, on the website, but yeah, okay, but you got to click on that, okay? Other payments. And now if you go to the home page, you scroll all the way down, you'll see that we do, okay, everybody? And so I look forward to hearing your insights on the replay as well. And thank you for sharing Deuteronomy 28:13, and the Lord will make you the head and not the tail. That's right, we are the head and not the tail. Glory be to God. All right, thank you. Great ending to this. That was a great verse for ending this live stream today. And I will catch y'all on the replay. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Till next time, we'll show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father. And you, keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.